Heroes from the trenches. Stories forged in the fires of experience. This episode brought to you by Cocoon Thermal Mass Furnaces. Learn more about Cocoon at cocoonrevolution.com. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us once again on Did You Know, the ESCO HVAC podcast. We're hanging out with our dear friend, Allen Coggins. Allen, how are you today?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Now, for those of you who can't see us, since this is just an audio podcast, Allen may be struggling to keep straight face today. I'm actually in full costume down in the studio doing some recording for a new video covering fractionation and bubble and dew point and going over glide and just talking about things in the industry. And it kind of sets us up for this conversation. So for those of you who don't know Allen, Allen is like myself. Started out as a technician, understanding how to work on equipment, but never stopped pushing himself. And along the way has really found new places within himself. And we have to remember that no matter what we do for a career, it's our passions that really drive us to becoming something new in our own self. And so, Allen, let's spend a little bit of time setting the stage of your evolution and help people understand that you never stop learning and you never stop pushing yourself to new levels and new limits.
No, it's so true. I mean, I got to say, I was never in high school. I was never a modeled student, right? I did not have my priorities in line, to say the least.
Sure.
And looking back now, part of that was due just the way that I was learning, the way the school and was set up, I just didn't do well in it, right?
Wasn't your learning format.
Exactly. It's like, I feel like a lot of the public schools, they want to tailor the kid around the education instead of tailoring the education around the kid,
Exactly. And opening up their opportunities to explore themselves.
Right. Yeah. And so looking back on it, I was kind of bored. I was, dealing with other things too, of course, being a young adolescent man and whatnot and all those things. So I was always learning, though. I loved to work with my hands. I just loved to tinker in the basement and, all those kinds of things. And, kind of going back, how I got into all of this is, early on, again, I was that tinkerer. And me and a friend of mine, we would go dumpster diving, of all things.
For parts and stuff to tear apart.
Exactly. Not so much, you never go to the food ones. Those are bad,
Right. But for
we would find
stuff.
Oh, gosh. All kinds of things,
radios, speakers. Oh yeah.
All that stuff. And then we were just, tear it apart and build things. And, that's how we were learning and everything is what I realized at that point is like, no, I really enjoy working with my hands. I learn, by doing more so. And, all of those kinds of things. I just learned better, I should say. Yeah. And so I went into tech school, and first went into tech school into South County Tech in Missouri here. And, again, it was a lot of hands-on education, and I loved that. And that's what really started to kick everything off. And then, later on, I seen a buddy of mine who was in one of the union programs, and he said, man, you got to get into this. And then there I had more schooling, right? And I just kept eating the schooling,
building.
Right. Just going in, learning, duct work, learning, service. Just the whole 9 yards. And then, really getting into like testing and balancing and, really progressing through the trade, if you will, and just finding different facets of the industry that I enjoyed and also the facets I did not enjoy too.
They come along with it.
Yeah. I said, no,
it's not all peachy keen. There's attics and crawl spaces and nasty oil. And there's a lot of things that aren't the funnest, but it's all part of the experience.
Exactly. And so really kind of looking back, and just kind of how I was and how I came from school into the trades, if you will, it was a nonstop educational experience. And even today, after now, I'm still in the trade, of course, but from a different facet, we're manufacturing at this point. And, and there's things at this side, had I not been in the trade, and learning and continuing the education and just trying to make myself better, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today as well.
I believe that. Let's talk about some of those sparks along the way.
Yeah. Well, a lot of different life events. So I was a very young man, and again, school wasn't my best, and I was busy chasing my wife.
Right.
So, needless to say, we had children at a young age.
Yep.
Well, guess what? That's a big spark.
Yeah, that
That's
changes things
right there.
Redirects your focus a little bit sometimes.
Absolutely. And it was that point of, okay, no, now we've got to work and earn, and we've got to, make the best life that I can for my family. And, hence another reason why school. I knew that the more school that I took, the more employable I was.
Yes. The more opportunities.
Exactly. And not to mention, how about more opportunities to get into those jobs that I did like?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm at a level, if you will, you get to a level at a certain point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you know what? No, I want to do this. I want to focus on this and not this because I am trained to do this, or I do this better, or whatever, And so, yeah, family was a big spark. Oh gosh, just the drive too, of myself, of wanting to better myself. I came from very humble beginnings, and, I didn't want my children or myself to live in poverty, and wanted to just, do the best that I could, no matter what I did.
Yeah. Amen.
And, so therein lies, some of those sparks that are, really, you think that, it's, this is what I want to do. This is my ambition. And this is, I love to do this, right? They say, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life, but work is work, right?
Work is still work. It doesn't go away. It's still there. So.
Right. How many people want to go to work instead of go fishing, right. or whatever, go throw axes or something. Who knows? I don't know. But
yeah. Well, at what point did you decide that, maybe I can push myself and really put my brain to work and try inventing some things?
So that was always there at a young age. Again, like I said, I was always that tinkerer, and I had a whole book full of things, and here's some, if anybody's got an idea who's listening to this, the first thing you need to do is write it down. That's the first step in making it into a reality. Okay. And, that's exactly what I did. Is I had these ideas, and I got a book full of them, and I just, wrote them down, and, kind of went from there. And, but what really, I think, made me kind of take that step was even my 96-year-old grandmother, who had a lot of wisdom behind her at 96.
Yeah.
And luckily a supporting wife, let me tell you, I wouldn't be half. Yes. Wouldn't have been able to do half of what we've done if it hasn't been for her. But, my grandmother, she was reading an article in the paper, in our local paper, in Arnold, Missouri. They were having problems with street lighting. So lighting is the number one thing that, deters crime.
Sure.
And so the problem is these subdivisions were built in the 50s or 60s, and all the electricity is at the rear of the house instead of up front by the road.
Right.
And so they had no street lights in the subdivision, and they were wanting street lights. And at the time I was messing with solar. This is going back in the early 90s at this point. Early mid 90s. And my grandmother read this paper, and she goes, "Allen, you're doing something with that solar. Why don't you try to do something?" She goes, "You know what? Just try it." And I said, light bulb went off. I said, "Okay, I'll give it a go."
Right. I had this idea that I wrote down.
Yeah. And I actually, we brought to market the nation's first hybrid LED street light. I invented the nation's first hybrid LED street lighting. In the process of going through HVAC school, I feel that we are the most skilled trade, if not one of the most skilled trades out of all the trades. You've got to know so much: electrical, chemical, list goes on, geometry, everything. And, so I said, you know what? Yeah, I could do something with that. And I just started building it. And sure enough, we had the nation's first hybrid, which was 100% off grid, used wind and solar power LED lighting. Now, this comes into play a little bit later on. Okay. It was all, that was the big push, I should say, was my grandmother back then. And then, hey, try this. And really, it wasn't so much in the HVAC realm. It was in the lighting realm.
Sure. The electrical, but electrical, mechanical.
Exactly.
What do? We work on electrical mechanical devices that have refrigerant inside of them.
Right. And, dealing with different light spectrums too, you can put in different color bulbs and, all those kinds of things, that's really, it started me towards, really seeing how energy is utilized and, exactly. And so, that kind of started me down the road. And then I always had this idea with this furnace, and it's funny how even that lighting industry is now, it has
intertwined. It's a piece.
Exactly. I mean, there is a definite crossover, in some of the science behind it, and in all of that as well. So, but yeah, it was really the big push was that, and like I said, have I not had a very supporting and understanding wife, I wouldn't have been able to do half of it.
Yeah, that's super, super important. Well, I find it, intriguing that you pushed yourself, but you had support, yes, but you pushed yourself to do something from an idea that you had. And I think many of us get stuck at that little point. We have some great ideas. I have had some wonderful conversations with young technicians, old technicians, people who've been in the field and go, if we just did this, we could do this. And I go, why don't you try that and see where it goes? It may go nowhere, but what else are you going to do? Flip through your phone, flip through the TV? Why don't you go in the garage and try it?
You might let the magic smoke out of something, right? You don't want to burn your house down or burn anything else.
Right. Do the flammable stuff outside.
in which, right now, if everybody could see this, it's like, okay, I'm talking to the mad scientist right now. This is great. So love it. But yeah, it was, it really, the reason behind it too has changed throughout the years. At first it became a, hey, let's do something different and something better, that has meaning. In the beginning it was about let's put food on the table.
Right.
Let's do something, all of those kinds of things. And as these projects came up, the street light, the furnace now, my reasoning for doing it all has changed over the years too. Yes, I want to make big, ugly piles of money. Who doesn't, right?
Right. American dream.
Right. But also the things that I didn't expect, the things that I didn't see, that were coming along that just blindsided me was, we had a family tragedy. I lost my son in 2019.
It's horrible.
And he had a daughter who was 11 months old when he passed. We now have her.
Yep.
But again, that reasoning that, even at that time when we didn't have her, it was about, okay, I still wanted to leave this world a better place, than when I found it. That's right.
That's our theme.
At least try. That's all I can do is wake up and try every day.
Yep.
And then now that I have grandkids, now it's like, no, I want to make this world not just a better place, but a place that they are going to be able to enjoy and love. And, if you just take all the politics right out of global climate change and all that other kind of stuff, and just look at common sense thinking, right? Smart energy management. To me, that's some of the best things that we can do.
How can you go wrong?
Exactly. Take all the BS out of it.
Forget about any initiatives in there.
Right.
Just look at the responsibility. How can I be more responsible with my time on this planet?
If we look at things, how HVAC, how our industry is done really on a worldwide scale, which, by the way, I didn't get that crash course until a few years ago.
Yeah.
I was an HVAC guy, right?
I fixed things. I didn't worry about what was coming. I just fixed what was here.
Exactly. And, what we have seen and what I've learned from now to then is that, the whole world's in a crisis.
Yes.
If you look at what's happening over, in the Ukraine war, you got Russia targeting, infrastructure. Why? Because it creates chaos. Well, if we can put some of that power back into the people's hands, if you will, now we have less chaos to be spread, right? During those kinds of times. And, so again, even still, I find my reasonings, changing just for, just different facets, okay, well, maybe this will help alleviate this issue. If, just all of those kinds of things. Right.
Yeah. No, I get it. I think we're very much becoming a society more aware of that, especially with our younger generations. They are very in tune to making a difference in the world. And I think it's flowing backwards towards us who may not have grown up with that exact same perspective. And I love it. I absolutely love the fact that we have our young students, our young technicians now becoming educators. Here at our own conference, our National HVACR Education Conference, we had like 500 new educators at the conference, all hungry for knowledge and hungry to be able to make a difference. And so at the backbone, I'm going, be like Allen, make a difference, do something, take something that you think could change the world and go give it a try. What's the worst case that can happen? That you let the smoke out.
That's right.
That's the worst case scenario. Have a fire extinguisher, have a garden hose, and go have fun.
That's right. Yeah. I remember even in school, just, when I was a cub and, just, going, okay, go over there and troubleshoot that furnace. I didn't know what I was looking at.
Right.
And he, the instructor knew that too.
Sure.
But he also recognized, how I learned. And, he was able to help me in regards to that of like, no, just go get in there and, hey, if you break something, let me know. Right. Just don't blow the place up. It's easy to do.
Many of other people's mistakes, as well as many, many, many of my own.
Yes. So, really, I love this industry, just for the journey alone that it's really given me and the opportunities that it's given me and my family too. I never would have thought, that a career in HVAC could take you around the world. No. And, I've been in all, some really cold places,
right?
For sure, but some really cool places too, and I just never would have thought that an HVAC, a guy running in a truck and everything else, could end up, I thought like that was my life, right? Oh, I was just in a truck and I was going to be a service guy and that's it. And really, if everybody just takes a moment and kind of look at their industry and see where they're at and see how they can better themselves, I think, who knows, they may end up finding themselves running around the world doing startups or whatever.
I believe faithfully in it. I spent 20 years in the field thinking that I would retire from the field. And I was fortunate enough to have a recruiter reach out and say, I think you missed the bar. If you have breakfast with me, I'll tell you why. And that set into motion things that I hadn't even realized. I mean, my first year, I went to college for TV, radio, film, because I had a DJ business when I was a teenager.
Very cool.
When I had kids, I set those ambitions to the side to go make some money, right? And there was good money in HVAC, and I'd married into a family business. I was like, okay, I'm an HVAC guy the rest of my life. And so we don't know until we explore. And we don't explore until we push ourselves just a little bit. And I'm just so grateful to hear these stories.
And that's even part of it too. It's like, and I'm sure we all have the story, you come across the, let's say the engineer that's closer towards his retirement, that kind of thing. And boy, he doesn't want to rock the boat, no. But this is the way we've always done it, and I think that is so horrible, not just as a business practice, but also as a personal practice.
Yeah, and as a society. Everybody
gets complacent. I don't care if you're the CEO of the company or if you're the janitor. Everybody will eventually get complacent. And really, that's when you got to, I think, dig down inside and go, okay, what's going to get me up in the morning? What is going to get me rolling here? And what's going to get my drive back? Maybe it's a vacation. Maybe it's a new facet of the industry that you didn't know before.
New class and new opportunity.
Exactly. It just, and really, I think just, finding that and finding that drive again, when you get to that point, and it's hard to recognize it. You go through life and just, oh, this is it. Here it is. And then boom, either A, something that you do changes it, or B, something changes you, an event changes you. So, I think that's just a big thing in the industry, and a lot of technicians and a lot of the young ones I talk to today, is to keep that ever wanting to learn, and you will not go wrong. You will always be employed, or at least employed more than others, kind of thing. And not to mention, you're going to be have better working conditions and all of that. So.
Yeah. You improve your life by improving yourself, and it does trickle down. Allen Coggins, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people learn more about Allen Coggins and Cocoon?
Yeah, come to our website, cocoonrevolution.com. Give us a call, 314-931-1004, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cocoon Revolution is the place to go. And we've got some videos and all kinds of stuff on there. And there's a little bit blurb in there about us and my career and everything as well. So
love it. If I don't see you beforehand, I will see you as well as anyone else joining us wants to hang out with us at the 2024 National HVACR Education Conference in Vegas. I look forward to hanging out. I might have to bring this costume. We'll go have some fun in Vegas.
Yes, that'll be a blast. I'll try to find one too. We could really have some fun then. We'll go get thrown out of somewhere.
I like it. Allen, have a wonderful day, my friend.
You too.